The Easy Gourmet is sponsored by The Scoreboard Sports Bar and Grill. Come visit us at 15 Middlesex Canal Park in Woburn, 781-897-4000.
Old Town Liquors on 286 Cambridge Street in Burlington off of Route 3A. The purveyors of fine wine, beer, spirits, specialty meats, cheese, and prepared foods.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Easy Gourmet. I'm your host and chef Vinnie Ferlisi. Glad to have you with me in my kitchen this afternoon. Today's recipe is rack of lamb, where I'm going to make a nice side of oven roasted French fries and a nice little pan roasted asparagus. And we have a nice wine to pair up with that today, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I'd like to welcome a new sponsor that I have for the show today is the Old Town Liquors of Burlington. And I want to welcome them as one of my sponsors today, and also, of course, the Scoreboard in Woburn. But why don't we get started? I have the first thing what I've done already before you've joined me today is I have both my ovens heated at 450. If you only have one, just have the one oven at 450. So all I'm going to do is just something simple. I've got 3 potatoes. Use as many as you need, and just slice those. And we're just going to make hand-cut fries out of this. Very, very easy. All you do is just get some flat slices and cut fries. If you have some kind of a machine that does this, you could do that also. This little flat piece we don't need. Have a very sharp knife when you do this, it helps. And don't use a serrated knife. I don't recommend a serrated knife for this. It doesn't go through something like this that easily. And sometimes with a serrated knife, you can't slide your knife. It kind of grips to your cutting board. So if you have a regular sharp chef's knife, that's the way to go. And don't be afraid to leave the skin on. There's a lot of nutrients in the skin. All we gotta do is that. And we can use that piece, it's thick enough. If it gets too thin, then they don't all cook at the same rate. And we just want to add a little bit of oil to that. About 3 or 4 tablespoons, depending on how many potatoes you use. If you want to use vegetable oil, you could do that. This is just a very light olive oil. Mix those up. And put them on a sheet tray that I already have prepared here. I have a little bit of non-stick foil on there, but if you have a non-stick tray, that's fine, doesn't matter. And just kind of pile those on. And that's all you're going to do. We can season those later after they come out of the oven. These are going to take about 20 minutes, give or take, because I do have it on 450. And they should brown really nicely at that temperature. So just slip that into your oven. If you have a single oven, that's fine. Just make sure the ovens are 450. And that is that. Our next item is rack of lamb. This is one that I already have prepared, pre-prepared last night because I have it marinating overnight, but I'm going to show you how to trim this and how to prepare it for pan roasting. As you can see, it does have, sometimes you can have your butcher do this. This particular one was, I bought it like this, so you sort of have to clean this off because you don't want to eat all that. The lamb fat is not like fat that's on a steak, which kind of tenderizes the meat and gives it more flavor. The lamb fat is a little kind of grisly and tough to eat, and it gives it a little more of a real earthy taste that you really don't want to have, because the lamb is, this particular lamb, the rack of lamb, is almost like a tenderloin of beef. It's one of the better cuts, and lamb fat kind of masks that flavor. So what we want to do first is we want to find the edge of the bone here. We want to make sure we don't cut off any good meat. So just get another sharp knife. This is more of a butcher's knife. You can try doing this with a chef's knife, but it's a little difficult. So you just come across the bone, and as you can see, I didn't go into the, you can see that I didn't go into the loin part of it. I just cut that fat, and see how thick that is. It's about 1/4 of an inch. You want to get rid of all that. And all you want to do is kind of move forward with your knife. This really isn't good for anything, and it really isn't much meat on here, so you're better off just discarding that. And you do just get rid of that. And always have the knife going away from you, a sharp knife. You don't want any accidents in the kitchen. And just kind of get rid of that. And again, across the top. There's like a little silver skin on here that you want to get off. I don't know if you can get a little picture of that. See, that's silver skin. You want to get as much of that off as possible, but not really cut deeply into the meat, because you don't want to waste any of that meat. But if you have a sharp knife, you should be able to get that out. If you have a little trouble handling raw meat, you can always wear gloves for this. See how that knife glides right through there? And this is that silver skin I was telling you about. You don't want to go too deep. You want to get as much of that off as you can. I mean, it doesn't taste bad. It just kind of gives just a little bit of a strong, kind of a stronger taste than the meat really should have. Let's get rid of that. Just a little bit more here. I don't want to dig too deeply into it because I don't want to lose any of that meat. And I think that's okay. Like I said, you can get your butcher to do this, although I don't know if there's that many butchers left around these days. But places like Whole Foods and a little more upscale supermarkets sell these kind of cleaned off already. So if you want to, if you're not into the cleaning, you know, defatting of one of these, you can always do something like that. And you want to get rid of the meat in between, because that'll burn. And just use a paring knife to get rid of that. Make sure your knife is sharp. This is called Frenching. The bones, when all the meat or all the fat is removed from the bone, it's called Frenching. That's what we're doing now. Just get rid of all those. Actually, you could just take these and saute them and eat them if you wanted to. There's a little bit of fat on them. You can just have it as cracklings, I think you would call them. You just put them in a pan with a little bit of oil and cook them, and they crisp up, and you can eat those in the middle of making your meal. But we're not going to do that today. We're just gonna get rid of that. And that's all you have to do. Just let me wash my hands up a little bit. Okay. What we want to do is just clean our board off just slightly. So we want to marinate this, and you could go 8 to 12 hours, but overnight is preferred. Just get a clove of garlic. Get rid of that for now. Just a clove of garlic. And just kind of rough chop that. Kind of press that into the meat. This is all going to be removed afterwards. All we're doing is we want to get just the flavor of the garlic into the meat. Then we have a little bit of fresh thyme. So take 2 or 3 sprigs, and you can just pull that off with your finger. And that comes right off. And a little bit of fresh rosemary. If you don't, sometimes, I mean, rosemary is kind of piney tasting, has like that real strong pine taste. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to, but I do suggest you use the thyme. The thyme has a nice earthy tone to it. And not a lot of rosemary, just enough to kind of, you know, give like the essence of that to the meat. And a little bit of black pepper. And we get a Ziploc bag. You get a Ziploc bag. And we put a little bit of oil in there, a little bit of olive oil. I recommend a light one, not anything really strong, because we want the natural taste of the meat to come out. We don't want anything to really overwhelm it. We want layers of flavor, but we don't want any particular layer that overwhelms the previous one. So I have a little bit of garlic, a little bit of rosemary and thyme, and a little bit of oil, and a little bit of black pepper. So you let the air out of that. And then we put that into the refrigerator. And like I say, 8 to 12 hours preferred, but overnight would be okay. So what we want to do is we already have one prepared. And we want to we'll take all this off. Because like I said, all we want is the essence of the meat. And that's what you have ready to go. I'll just get rid of this. So we want our pan on medium-high, our saute pan. So we're going to be putting a fresh breadcrumb crust on it and Dijon mustard. So all you want to do for the fresh breadcrumbs, any kind of bread will do. If you have a Cuisinart, or just use your chef's knife, whatever is easier. Just bear with me here for a moment. This is just regular pan bread. It does have some sesame seeds on it. That'll give it a little nutty background once this is cooked. 3 or 4 slices. That's probably even more than you need. Although it's okay to overload on this because all the oil, after this is roasted in the oven, all the oils and all the different flavors that come off the meat will flavor the breadcrumbs. It'll be kind of a nice little side dish to go with the whole meal. Just put these into a Cuisinart. Day-old bread is fine, whatever you have. I don't recommend Wonder Bread or anything like that, but something that has a little body to it. And don't go to powder. Don't grind it to powder. Just kind of grind it to kind of something like that. Just so you can still tell that it's bread. We'll leave that there for now. How's this doing? Just a little more. What we're going to do is we're going to saute this on both sides. Maybe in the bottom also, so I guess you could say 3 sides. And then we're going to dress it with the Dijon mustard and dress it with the crumbs. Then we're going to bake it in the oven, or pan roast it in the oven for 12 minutes. And 12 minutes will give you medium rare. And if you want to go a little more to medium, you probably want to go about 15 minutes. Or if you really want to go to well done, you probably want to go 20 minutes. You'd have to check it though somewhere around 12 to 15 and see how it's looking in there. You could use a meat thermometer. For rare, it's going to be about 130. Medium rare, it's going to be 145 to 150, and well done is above 150. But I don't recommend having a little redness or pink to this meat. It really enhances its flavor. I think if you go too far with lamb, it's gonna be tough for one thing, but you want a little moisture left into it, and I think going at maximum medium is what you want to do for a cut like this. So we're going to saute that, as I said, brown the sides. We're going to use a little bit of, which we used on the show before, clarified butter. You can buy this, or I made this myself. All I did was melt a pound of butter and filter out all the impurities, the water, the curds, the whey, all the stuff, all the things that you don't want in a stick of butter. But you can buy clarified butter. It's called ghee. You can buy that at an Asian store. And what I like about using this is it sort of acts like oil. Like normally when you put butter into a pan, it foams. When you put this into a pan, you really don't hear anything. It's almost, well, you do hear a little. I lied. But most of the impurities are taken out of this. And that way, with all those impurities, especially the water taken out, there's less chance of what you're cooking in it, less chance of it burning. So we'll give it a shot here. Let's see how we're doing. The pan seems hot enough. Just let that melt. And I think we're, forgot to salt and pepper this. A little salt and pepper. And that would be chef's choice, whatever you like to use. I use a little bit of kosher salt on each side, a little bit of pepper on each side. And we just want to brown that on both sides.
The Easy Gourmet is sponsored by The Scoreboard Sports Bar and Grill. Come visit us at 15 Middlesex Canal Park in Woburn, 781-897-4000.
Old Town Liquors on 286 Cambridge Street in Burlington off of Route 3A. The purveyors of fine wine, beer, spirits, specialty meats, cheese, and prepared foods.
Okay, and we just want to turn that over. And as you can see how that's nicely browned. All you want to do is just put a quick sear on it. And as I said, make sure your pan is nice and hot, medium high. Because you don't want to steam the meat, you want to sear that, and when you sear it, that's searing all the juices and all the flavor in. If you have the temperature too low, all you're doing is kind of steaming the meat in its own juices, and you're not enhancing, or you're not bringing all those flavors out like you should. Let's see how we're doing here. And we're just going to get the bottom. And you don't have to go too long here either, because remember, we're going to roast this also. So we just want to get a little bit of a sear on each side. And I think that's good. We can bring that over here to prepare. Don't put your hot pan on your regular cutting board. You'll mess it all up, so. And if you can get a good look at that, that's looks good enough to eat now, but we're only halfway there. So we have a little bit of Dijon mustard. If this is the smooth Grey Poupon, if you prefer something with grain, like grainy, I think Grey Poupon also makes a mustard that's slightly grainy. You could use that too. This is the smooth one, and it doesn't really matter. It just depends what you really like and what you like to use. You only want about a tablespoon or so. If you had two or three of these going at one time, you could use a little more. Just spread that on with the back of your spoon. Just take the back of your spoon, and spoon that on. Very easy recipe. That's why we're called the Easy Gourmet. Get rid of this. And we can just pack some crumbs onto that. Don't be afraid to pack those on there. See, there's oil in the bottom of the pan. I don't think the viewers can see that. And all that oil would all get absorbed into the breadcrumbs. This is one of the recipes that I really get excited about. It's very easy, just a little bit to prepare, but it's really, really worth it. So just cover that up. I'm going to throw the whole thing in there. Why not? These will brown really nicely. And we are ready to roast. So just looked at the time, so we're going to give it about 12 minutes or so in the preheated 450-degree oven. And make sure you use an oven-proof fry pan or saute pan, because you don't want those handles to melt. And I think we are ready to take our lamb out of the oven. Oh yeah. Make sure you use a towel when you take that out, because that handle is going to be hot. As you can see how the breadcrumbs have toasted, and they've absorbed all that excess buttery oil from the meat and from the clarified butter that was in there at the beginning. You know what you always could do too, which I don't have today, you could buy those little hats to put on here. I'm not sure we actually get those, but those would make that a nice presentation after you cut that. What you want to do is you need to let that rest for about 10 minutes. So just let a little foil on top. Just kind of like that. So, do that. Although I don't know if you viewers just want to, maybe I'll leave the foil off so everybody can look at it. But that's what you want to do, is lay the foil on and let it rest for 10 minutes or so. And we need a little bit of course, we need a little bit of greenery to go with this. So we're going to go with a little bit of asparagus today. And this is going to be very simple. We want to get in a pan, nice and hot. I'm going to go with this burner here. And this has already been cleaned and washed. And of course I broke the ends off. But what I like about these here, which you can't always get them, they're very, very thin and they cook really fast. You can almost eat these raw or just cut them up and put them in a salad. So you just want to get a little bit of oil in the pan. Make sure your pan is hot first. You always want hot pan before you put any oil in. Just wait a moment on that. Let's check our fries since we have a moment. See how they're doing. Now remember, now we have these at 450 on the top rack. Oh, and you can see how they're browning nicely. They're almost ready. Maybe another 5 minutes. I think once the asparagus is ready, and once we let the meat cool down, these will be ready to come out. So that's hot enough. Of course, if you have an electric stove, it may take a little longer, but with gas, it heats up right away. Just a little oil in the bottom. And put your asparagus in. Then a little oil on top. So you can hear those are sizzling already. A little salt and pepper. Put a little bit of salt, that'll draw the juices out and help sear these a little easier. Especially like when you're sauteing onions. You always want to put a little salt on them because that draws the juices out of the onion. All the sweet juices that are in that onion, they'll all come out and they'll caramelize. So that's what you're trying to do here. A little bit of black pepper. You only want a couple of minutes here. Probably going to need about no more than 8 minutes, I'd say. And let those cook. Well, since we have time, because we're waiting for those to cook, the Old Town Liquors has graciously donated a nice Pinot Noir from Sean Miner. And this pairs well up with the lamb. So why don't we just open that now? We'll let it breathe a moment. And then we can put everything all together and I'll show you what it looks like. You don't need one of those fancy smashy electronic gadgets to open a bottle of wine. Just get one of the regular corkscrews right into the middle. Tilt the bottle about a 45-degree angle. Tilt the bottle. The screw part goes in right to the middle. Turn that. Bring it down. Bring it up. And it's open. I mean, this was only $5. Some of these things cost like almost $100. I don't get it. And you know me with gadgets. If you can't use it for more than one thing, you don't need it. So let's take a look and see how this is doing. I'm just going to snitch one here and see how it's doing. Let's take a look. It's very good. They're still crunchy, so I think we're going to go with it. Of course, if the asparagus is a little thicker, you leave it on a little longer. We just put a little butter on that to give it a little flavor here at the end, make it a little more rich. Why not? That's all you got to do. Get this out of the way. Maybe we'll take a look at our potatoes. I think we should be ready. That handle's still hot. Move that over there. Look at that. Beautiful. Those are perfect. Because if you wanted to really go on the burn side, you could do that. But those are ready to go. And salt those. If you want salt on them, salt them when they first come out, because that way the salt will melt into the potato. If you wait too long, they're all going to bounce off. So just put a little salt. And there you have it. The rack of lamb, the sauteed quick asparagus, so it barely took 5 minutes, and the roasted potatoes. So why don't we put a little dish together, have a little taste of wine, and see how it all pairs up. We have a nice clean board, so I'm going to use that to cut the lamb on. What I like to do is when I cut a rack of lamb, get a nice knife, something really sharp. This is serrated, it's going to go right through. I like to cut a double chop. I don't like to cut them singularly. I like a double or even a triple. Since I'm the chef today, I'm going to go with a triple. And this is on the rear side, which I like. And you take a little bit of the crumbs, which, look at this. This is great. If I can show the viewers this. See how that crusts up really nice? That's almost like having another side dish. A little bit of that. A little bit of asparagus. And a little bit of potatoes. Maybe a lot of bit of potatoes. Yep. Get this out of the way here so everybody can see. And of course, you can always finish it off with your favorite mint jelly, just to give it that little edge that sometimes lamb needs to kind of give that little sweet. And lamb is slightly gamey, so it gives it a little bit of sweetness to go to kind of cut through that a little. Well, let's just see how we did. I'm just going to put a little of that on there. The Dijon mustard is nice and mellow after it's cooked in the oven, and the meat is extremely tender, extremely tender. So let's see how we did. Let's see how my friend Nick Talopoulos at Old Town Liquors, if he paired up the right wine. Let's take a look. So everybody can see. It's delicious. It has very soft tannins, which is that part of the wine that makes you kind of pucker up, but it's very, very soft. There's some hints of cherries, and it's almost like some hints of Coca-Cola almost. But it's really, really good. One more. One more. I'm the chef. One more. I've done a lot here, so one more. Wow, that is excellent. So one more time to recap. Rack of lamb, very easy. Just cut most of that fat off. The best, I mean, you can do it in the same day, but what I like to do is that little bit of garlic and a little bit of the fresh herbs, press that into the meat, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of pepper also, Ziploc bag, 8 hours or overnight, whatever you can do. And basically you just saute it in a little bit of light oil, or we use clarified butter today, some fresh crumbs, well first the Dijon mustard, the fresh crumbs, and you're roasting it at 450. That's the key, roasting it at 450. And 12 to 13 minutes or so for rare, 15 minutes for medium, medium rare, and then as you go up, you're going to get closer to medium well and well. I'd like to thank you viewers for being in my kitchen today, and I hope you enjoyed watching these recipes as much as I enjoyed cooking them for you. And of course, I cannot forget my two wonderful sponsors, the Scoreboard of Woburn, Mr. Frank Vento, a manager and proprietor, and Mr. Nick Talopoulos of Old Town Liquors, Route 3A in Burlington. I want to thank them for graciously thanking them for the wine they paired up with this dish today, and for being one of our new sponsors here on the Easy Gourmet. So again, as I always say, I like to wrap up each show. Thank you for coming, and happy cooking.
The Easy Gourmet is sponsored by The Scoreboard Sports Bar and Grill. Come visit us at 15 Middlesex Canal Park in Woburn, 781-897-4000.
Old Town Liquors on 286 Cambridge Street in Burlington off of Route 3A. The purveyors of fine wine, beer, spirits, specialty meats, cheese, and prepared foods.